we are currently actually much healthier stage. The times of Corona has helped us.
Okay. Chalo, let's start. So I'll just give a small introduction. So everyone, like we have Harshit here. He has like more than 7 years of experience in product. So we'll just discuss how he got into product and, like what kind of things does a product manager do, like how you can like think about a career in product management and different aspects of it. Like what I would say is, if you guys have questions, you can put it up in the chat and we'll pick it up. And Harshit, great to have you here. So like the first thing that, most people like need clarity on is, what does a product manager do? So like if you can tell, like, in short, like what does a product manager do? Like what is a product management role?
Okay, so basically before we talk about what does a product manager do, we need to talk about what sort of product it is. So essentially there are 3 types of product that we normally use. One is a physical product, like a hair dryer, like Gillette razor, or products which are physical tangible products you use. Second comes online products, which are either online or offline, but they are mostly internet based applications, mobile phones applications, your websites, and products which are related to your online transactions, online businesses. Then there are third types of products which are on the enterprise level, like they help bigger companies solve their problems in a much faster, healthier way. So those are enterprise products. I am a product manager for the consumer market, products which are on the online segment. Basically, we build apps, we build mobile web applications, we build desktop websites. And in order to run a business which relies only on those applications for the source of transactions or the customers, this is the kind of product that I specialize in. So it excludes enterprise products like Microsoft Office, something like a Tally, which is used by a lot of accountants for accounting purposes. So I'm excluding those type of enterprise products, and I'm excluding all the physical products like your new roti maker, which can make rotis for you. So I'm excluding these 2 types of products. Now only talking about the consumer product, which have seemed to boomed after the 2001 dot-com bubble that burst, and after that we saw that a lot of companies suddenly came into existence, and suddenly we started using them. In social sphere, we have Facebook. In e-commerce, we have Amazon and Flipkart from India. Then suddenly a lot of startups started coming up which solve your daily needs, but they are strictly limited to an online presence. Some of them have ventured into offline, but I will exclude that also from the conversation right now. So now, strictly talking about that type of a product manager, you need 3 things essentially. One is, how does that business operate? So every business has a funnel, and that funnel needs to be understood by every product manager. So basically, there are 3 pillars of a product management. One pillar is business, second pillar is technology, and third pillar is design. A product manager needs to have basic understanding of all these 3 pillars, basis which any product which comes under consumer space, all these 3 pillars have to be strong. And we can surely see the current product that are in the market. They have, I will only talk about products which are launched like 1 year or 2 years ago, and they have, killed it in the market. The biggest one being Cred. It's a financial product, but it's an app which lets you do your credit card payments and transactions on time. And it's a very niche one because it only allows a certain threshold population to enter. And now let's talk about products like that. I work for a company called Paytm. Paytm also is a wallet, was a wallet company before. Then it went into UPI payments, and then it moved away from payments into multiple different horizontals, and a lot of different verticals started coming in, like finance, like Paytm Money, like banking, like other financial services, like insurance and stuff. So these are all products which were offline before and now they have come online. So this is why I say that every product manager needs a basic understanding of the online part of these businesses. How does insurance get sold in India? So there are startups which are, uh, really taking up a larger market share every new year because they're scaling up very fast. Then there are products which were earlier over-the-counter transactions of securities. Now it's all happening online. There are companies like Zerodha which allow you to do, open an account and do your own stock investing from your own laptop or from your own mobile phone app. Now these are some financial products. Then there are education products. Then these are the kind of products that I'm talking about. Here, business becomes number one, important metric to judge a product manager. Second thing is technology. How do you leverage technology in your business vertical for your specific needs? Some businesses require basic technology, which is limited to uh, just a basic reach to the user. Some businesses need in-depth analysis of what technology can give to them, and then there are much harder problems to solve for certain businesses. And let me differentiate by giving examples. The company that I was just talking about, Cred, it's a very simple technology to build on. Like it's a very basic app where only payment gateways are involved. You just need payments done, and payments is pretty much solved in India. So technology wise, it's not that complicated because a lot of layers are solved in India already. There are products which you need to work from very basic, where technology becomes more important. Let me give you an example of such products. If you want to build a, a solution which gives you augmented reality on your app, for example, there is a manufacturing company which wants to manufacture apparels for women which are exactly to their sizes. So a woman has just to enter her basic measurements, and the clothes will be sorted accordingly, and some sort of an intelligent product will come into making. So these type of products have a lot of technology requirements. Gaming essentially requires a lot of hard technology to be used in it, because gaming in itself is a very competitive thing, and it's a very it's a thing which requires real time server to server calls, and that is where you need to know more about technology of such businesses. Then the third aspect that I did not touch upon much is the design aspect to it. Everybody loves good design. If design is not something that you take care of, the whole system somehow crumbles or somehow falls apart if you haven't given due diligence to the design element or the UX of it, the user experience of it.
Right. So let's talk more about what you do at Paytm. So like for your role at Paytm, are there a lot of technical skills required, or like how is it? Like what do you do on a day-to-day basis at Paytm? Like for people who are
Okay.
at this?
So I'm a part of Paytm First Games. It's a gaming company. It's a separate company, and we have a platform. The platform serves a lot of games which are developed by indie developers of India. We also have collaborations with a lot of bigger gaming studios of the world. For example, I was just mentioning Clash Royale is doing an event with us where we'll be hosting a Clash Royale competition worth $5,000. Now, these are the sorts of things that I get to do because I have moved on from a basic product management role to a product marketing manager now. I take care of three essential functionalities: growth of that particular business. Second is the retention part of it. For example, if the user comes in on the platform, I basically take care whether the person is getting a good user onboarding or not. Whether the person, in the first few minutes that he spends on my platform, whether he understands the things that I'm showcasing to him or not. Now, these are certain functions that I take care of. The third thing that I am a owner of is the overall management of resources, basically the store management. So we have a lot of games to offer. And by showcasing certain games, by highlighting certain points, I actually keep rotating the games to the user so that it looks like, everything, every day there is a new thing to offer. Something like if you open TikTok, every day you see new stuff, new content coming in every day. So we keep doing that. That's called store management from our end, and it's something that I take care of.
So basically, to summarize, you're focusing on user growth and retention, like
Yes.
acquiring more users and retaining the existing users.
Yes.
So, like, in order to do this, like, what are some skills that like someone should have, like, in your role?
Okay. So coming to your early question about technology first.
Yeah.
Now, in order for me to understand what does it take for a user to come and where does he go, there are too many user journeys possible. I'm talking about user journey because a user may choose to do this and then something else. The next user might love something else. So there are different varieties of user journeys that can happen in a product. For me to understand those variety of user journeys, I need to be able to know what are the API calls that are getting a user from point A to point B. What are the basic measures that I need to capture? So basic data points that I need to capture to understand, okay, what is the user doing? So it has been essentially three parts: building a feature, managing a feature to its actual conversion point, and third is understanding what features are important and what features are not important. This is the technical side of it, because building a feature requires some sort of a technical know-how. If you understand how technology works, you can better analyze what features are needed and what features are needed to be built. Giving you a simple example, uh, there can be a user login, which is a Facebook login. There can be a user login, which is a login through an OTP. Now, when do you do a user login? Why does a user feel the need to do login before entering an app? Is it required right at the onset? Can we, change it such that only if a user, spends some time with us, after that we need his data, and that is when we ask for a login. So these are the type of questions that we need to answer as a product manager. Once we understand this, we create a product roadmap. Like, these are the things that we need to build. This is how we need to build them. And then we create a product documentation which explains in detail what is the feature that is needed to be built, and we hand it over to the technology team. And then technology team has their own sprint, which they manage the building part of it.
Right. So how much of these decisions are like intuition, or like how much of these are data driven? Like, do you experiment and then decide what to build, or like do you go refer to the experience that you have had about understanding the user, or like basically qualitative?
Actually, it's highly data driven.
Okay.
Because there are two reasons why this is very highly data driven and why intuition doesn't really work here, because there are too many parameters to solve for. If you have a daily active user base of roughly around 1 lakh people, it becomes really, really difficult for one person to analyze data on a day-to-day basis and give judgments. So it's best if you capture data to such an extent that you have enough intelligence from the user behavior that has happened till the day that you need to make a decision for the next future. You always base it on the previous data.
Right. So
however small that data is.
right. So many people here want to actually move into a product manager role from different roles, like business analyst. There is someone who's mentioned that he's a data scientist. So how can, like, let's take the case of a business analyst. So like, I think you have moved from, like,
Yes,
actually you have moved from business analyst to a product manager. So
exactly.
how do you make that switch? How do you prepare yourself for it? Yours might have been a different time because it was long back. In current scenario, how does one prepare themselves for a product manager role if they're a business analyst right now?
Understood. So I was working with American Express before as a business analyst. I used to work for a decision sciences team, and from there I moved on to product management. So uh, I believe two things helped me. One was that I did my engineering from electrical engineering, so I had a basic know-how of technology. I had not built applications before, but I understood how coding works and how you know how do you store data, what is the basic requirement of a an app. So I could understand those basic things, but most of the things that I learned was on the job. Like when I moved into product management, only then I got to know about technology. Before that, I did not pay any attention to a lot of things. For
Right.
example, AWS servers and how does AWS affect my life? I did not know this before I went ahead and worked in products. So uh, don't be afraid if you don't understand technology right now. You should have a hunger for it, because technology is something which is ever evolving. So even if I would have learned technology in my college days, for example, I studied from 7 to 12, 2007 to 2012. The technology that people were using then has drastically, changed from that time to now. And a lot of computer science graduates who were, studying, who used to study computer science, and I did not study computer science. And even now, if I talk to them, they say that a lot of things that we studied then, we built on that, and that's the strength. You can start your understanding from today onwards, and you keep building on that. So you should have the hunger for technology. You should know, you should have the hunger for using technology, basically. If you are if you have that that thing where if like I have an Amazon Alexa that I have in my home, and I keep tinkering with it. I keep understanding how it works more and more. When uh, I would say I understand music, and I feel that I am a good music connoisseur, and I used to always listen to music on YouTube. But suddenly, when better products came like Spotify into India, I started using Spotify. Uh, in payments also, there are similar products which are they keep evolving, and they keep building new products, and I think that's the hunger for technology use. you should you should always have that hunger. Second thing is, a good business analyst is required for a lot of roles. If you are into marketing, even then, having understanding of how to analyze data is paramount. If you want to become a good product manager, even then, having the understanding of number crunching really helps. Currently, the scenario is that even if you want to build uh, uh, a new uh, medicine for coronavirus, you need the number crunchers to crunch those numbers for you. So it's a great skill to have, irrespective whether you want to get into product management or marketing or pharmacology. I think having the understanding of data and how to crunch numbers and how to derive insights out of it, it's actually really helpful.
Right. So in short, basically, does, like, trying to understand the technological products around you, like that are there online, does that help? I mean, is that
Right.
something
It
that one should?
definitely helps, and in fact, not just understanding, tinkering with them. Like keep understanding them through different angles. So this is something which I learned when I was doing bug testing in a lot of features that I used to conceptualize initially. If you think about a feature, when it gets built, it has a lot of bugs. So you have to keep tinkering with it to find those bugs, and that is a skill which I learned after I went into product management. But I have seen a lot of people do it without even getting into product management. Like it's something that they love doing. Like they keep, tinkering with the product. What does it do if I do this? What does it do if I do that? Something which you do in a game, basically, if you're a gamer. And this is a unique way of understanding how a product works. I've one thing that I can share with you, that a lot of products are understood if you read their terms and conditions really, really well. So if you want to know whether a news app is, stealing your data and selling it to someone else, it would be written in it would have been written in their terms and conditions. So if you read that carefully, they would have told you that how much of what data they are stealing and selling it to others. So this is something that you need to keep tinkering and keep understanding.
Right. Again, so from a company hiring for a product role, so like how can, so first of all, is coding knowledge or like knowledge of software, how much, to what extent is that required when you're applying for a PM role, PM or an APM role?
Yeah, so it's very important to understand how technology works. Right. It's not important to know how to code something, because knowing how to code something is a job of a software engineer. It's not the job of a product manager. You will never be coding in product management, but you need to understand how stuff works. What code should be written for what purpose? Are there ways of coding which help solve a problem faster? So are these type of things available? And this you can do without having the understanding of coding, because if you see variety of products around you, if you know that this is done this way by this particular app, if this is something which these apps show very easily to me, and this particular app is not doing that particular function that well, it means that somewhere their coding sucks.
Right. So like what do companies look for? I mean, so for example, in your company, let's say, how can someone who's a business analyst apply? Like, can they apply for an APM position, or like what is it? What can they do right now?
So no, actually, it's really difficult in my company to apply if your previous job was of a business analyst, and if you are applying for a product manager role. There are two reasons. Because one, a lot of product management position gets hired from an MBA school in our company, because in our company we believe that a product manager's essential job is to manage product. And the management part is focused heavily, and that's why we recruit most of the MBA graduates who have engineering backgrounds, basically.
So, like, what are some other paths to like a product role other than MBA?
So, taking Paytm aside from this, there are a lot of companies which hire good business analysts who also have a knack for that particular business. So that this is where I've seen, I've hired people who were business analysts, and I've hired them as an APM. Truly because I was working for a company called Dream11, and we got a person who was an engineer. He had done electrical engineering, and he had worked with a proper electrical engineering company for 2.5 years. And then he applied in Dream11, which is a gaming company. And I could see that he was really passionate about cricket. He was really passionate about how Dream11 works as a business. And he had already acquired a lot of skills which we see important in our particular role as a product manager. Some skills like how do we make features in Dream11 to make it better. Now I'm strictly talking about features here because he was an exception where he could understand features in depth. He could conceptualize new features, and then he could talk about if we could do those things, what would the impact be. Now this is something which a very good business understanding does to you. So this is what I expect from a business analyst, that if you have analyzed businesses, if you understand numbers, if I give you numbers from my particular business, and I would give it to you in a form of a case study. And if you can solve that case for me, and if you can give me insights which even I can't, get out of the data that I have given you, then that is a clear winner in terms of, suitability for our hiring purposes.
Right. So just like in this scenario, how did this person like make himself stand out? So I mean, like let's say if you got that person's CV, like how could you differentiate him from the others? Like,
No, so I did not differentiate him through his CV. So
okay,
usually, let me give you a brief background about interview processes of a lot of tech companies. We have basic three steps. First step is the filtering process, where a lot of people are filtered from their resume standpoint, which happens at a very broad scale. Here, people only look at three things. One is whether we want a person who has 3 to 5 years of experience, whether the person has 3 to 5 years experience or not. If you want a person to have so and so experience previously, whether the person has so and so experience previously or not. And then the third thing is whether the person has, shows sincerity, shows basic discipline. These
right,
are the metrics to filter out a resume. Once the resumes are filtered out, there's a telephonic round which happens mostly to understand the user. Basic things that are checked are communication skills and the basic know-how about businesses, the basic know-how about how to go about certain things. Not much questioning happens over there. Then the final round is the interviews where I give an assignment. The assignment usually is a case study. I can give you some numbers. Those numbers could mean something. And then there would be some follow-up questions based on those numbers. You need to come up with insights. You need to come up with features. You need to come up with a basic PRD, product requirement document. And that is where the real, understanding happens. How in depth can a person think about a specific, case? And that is where a real business analyst really shines.
right. So this is an example of you wanting to hire, let's say, an APM.
Yes.
Right. So you might have a criteria that I want like people who are either APMs or business analysts, and the HR filters candidates on that criteria and a basic telephonic round, and then you give them a case where they have to come back with something.
Yes.
Can you give an example of like one such like case that you might give?
Yeah. So there is a case that I really like. It's that you have a demographic data of India. You have a generic make of a particular handset. You want to know how many handsets to manufacture at what cost so that you maximize their sales for that particular week or so. And last 1 week data would be given to you of a generic population like India, and maybe like 1 lakh data points are given to you.
Okay. Okay. So what is like you mentioned the solution here would be in the form of a PRD.
The solution here would be first to understand what specifications are really important for what price point, and then you create those specifications into a particular uh, a phone, and then you find out through the data what specifications and what price point actually gives you the maximum sales. So this
Okay.
is just a basic business analyst question
Right.
that has a specific answer to it.
Right.
The one where I mentioned PRD, it was where I would give data from my own particular app. I
Okay.
would give data about the first screen view, the second screen view, the third screen view, and I would want to know why the drop has happened from those screen views, and what could you do to make that drop, go away.
Right. Okay. So again, so what do you evaluate someone on, like when they come up with a solution? Like,
The basic tenets, like how well does he understand data, how well does he understand uh, basic feature making, and basic, uh, a thought through answer is an answer where a person has thought deeply about everything that the person is talking about.
right.
So this is what I look at the most.
Right. So these skills, can someone develop them? I mean, how can someone intentionally develop these skills? Like, would it be on his current job, or does he have to like spend time like separately to develop such skills by maybe doing some side projects or like working on cases separately? Like, what
Yeah,
what are some
actually,
ways?
that can be done, because if you are doing a job where you are practically not working as a product manager before, then you need to develop these skills on your own. And this is what I used to do. I used to read up a lot. I used to tinker with products a lot. And I used to understand why these products are making those changes. So I saw from a very early age when, Uber was launched in India, it had a great referral program, and how they changed their referral program, because I was the one who used to cheat on their referral program a lot. And then I could understand that they are, closing the doors for me, one step after the other. And that is how I could understand how their referrals are, changing. And I started developing referral programs for other companies because I could understand a lot about referrals through that experience. So this is something which everybody can do.
Right. So we have someone who's saying he's a product analyst currently and has good idea on deriving metrics and insights to improve features. So like for him to move to a PM role, like what should he do basically?
Mm,
So
he should,
coding, I think the specific question is, should I get hands-on coding or analytical skills like Python R? So I think knowing how to code is not so important, like you said.
if you are a business analyst, if you
Product
know,
analyst, I think he's a product analyst working on
yeah, so
something.
if you're a product analyst, the things that I need you to be hands-on is uh, basic macro, understanding how Excel works, pivot tables, and VLOOKUP and stuff. Then understanding where the limitation of an Excel is. Like there are certain things where you cannot work on Excel, so you need certain add-on help from Python and R are basic tools. You need to understand them. You need to know them. You
Right,
cannot be a product analyst and not know R and Python, because uh, first of all, we currently live in a world where everybody should know three things. They are very basic stuff. One is how to crunch numbers faster. And if you know how to do a faster way, even if you beat those, if you beat that speed, that is even better. So there are unique ways in Python and R where you can crunch numbers very faster, very fast. So I think being a business analyst or a product analyst, you should know R and Python. If you want to become a PM, they will really come in handy if you know.
right, right. Again, a lot of people ask ask questions if there are any courses or certifications that they want to do. Like, are there any courses or certifications that one should do before becoming like applying for a product manager role? Does it help?
Uh, I specifically would not recommend that, because uh, it clearly shows that you do not learn things on your own. You need college degrees and certification courses for everything, and it's something which a hands-on job actually teaches you much more than these certifications. If you're free, you have time, and you want to learn something, go for it. Like learning something should not be, a hindrance at all. You can learn anything, but it won't really help you in building a product if you don't build a product. So the basic, uh, you know, the best way to understand how to build a product is to build a product basically. So you get interviews lined up, give interviews, get a job where are given responsibilities of managing a product, and that will happen slowly and steadily, because even after you become an associate product manager or an assistant product manager, you basically do business analyst job for a very long time till you are vetted by the senior product managers, and trusted by them to have a hang of the product, and then only will you be given the ownership. So product management is all about ownership. You own that product, and that ownership is only given once you show the skills.
Right. So for people who are early in their career, like the best thing to do would be to be there, maybe work under a product manager,
Yes, work under a product manager.
and slowly like grow into that role.
Exactly.
So yeah, so you mentioned design as like one pillar. So design is something that requires it's a different skill set. So like how important is it for like uh, for a PM role, and like how can someone improve on that? Let's say someone who's a business analyst or a data scientist hasn't had done much of design work. So should they like intentionally focus a lot of their energy on improving their design skills?
Yeah. So let me first clarify what I mean by design skills. Designing is not about creating better paintings. It's about the design, engineering design basically. How do you define a flow of a particular app? How do you define what comes first, what comes second? So in engineering design, you can think of it as building a home. So like a structural engineer can build a sturdy home. This is how a product manager builds a sturdy app. So it it actually I think the better analogy would be of an architect actually. So an architect actually thinks about the users experience, and designs rooms in such a way that your house is livable, it's good, a lot of people enjoy living in that house. And that is how the design aspect of a product manager come into play. You need to create your product in such a way that people like using that product, and that liking appeal is not exactly the design which a lot of designers use. It's more about the functional design, it's more about the user experience design.
Right. Right. So it's more of the user experience and thinking about the flow
Yes,
rather than actually designing uh,
a
in terms
screen.
of
Yeah, you
like
don't have to
not
design
not
a
a visual
screen, you don't have
designer,
to
but
design
like
logos. Yeah.
yeah, because you'll ultimately be working with a designer. You'll have a designer
Yes,
with
you will have a designer to help.
right.
But where designers are clueless is how will this functionality, come around? Where will the user go? Like if you click on this button, which is the next screen that I should, design for them. Now here, a product manager needs to define wireframes, and those wireframes are basically, boxes in very basic design. But that design needs to come from a product manager. It can be a sketch.
So let's take again like a product manager. Like let's take your case. So who all are like the people you work with? Let's say one is a designer, then there would be developers. So like how many like what kind of people do you work with? Like how do you like what kind of stakeholders do you work with?
So since I handle P&L part as well, I worked with finance team, I worked with business teams, I work with vendors that we use, I work with a lot of developers from both front end and back end side. Then I work with BI folks who need data to create reports and charts and dashboards. I work with designers, and then our final customer, which is the end user.
Okay. So you talk to customers
Yeah.
from time to time,
Every product manager should talk to their end user from time to time.
right? So I think we spoke about how you would hire someone under you. Let's say like when you apply or when you have previously applied to companies, what are the things that they evaluate you on? Like typically, what's the hiring process like? I mean, how many interviews? What are they looking for? Like what are they trying to evaluate?
So I would give you an example of my interview process in Microsoft, which I did not get in. Uh, so there was this three-step interview process. First was around where I would be given a random product that I need to build. And here my thoughts would be taken into account, and only then I would reach the HR round. And after the HR round, I would be, flown into Hyderabad for the final round. That is the whole day process that they take interviews throughout the day with different types of teams. Now, the first round that happened where I was given a product to solve. The product was I had to create a product for the people who go to a shopping mall, and after reaching the shopping mall, they should understand what they're looking for through a digital product, and that is how they should traverse their path in a shopping mall. So basically, it's a kind of a guide for all sorts of users who enter a shopping mall. Now, what kind of a product could that be?
Okay.
This was the ask, and then I had to come up with a product of my own from scratch. I had to write a basic minimum viable product idea that they would discuss, and then if I qualify, I would go to the HR round. So I qualified. I went to the HR round. In that HR round, I mostly had to answer questions regarding my resume and some more, details about my salary and stuff. How if I could move to Hyderabad and stuff. Then once I qualified that, I was given tickets to go to Hyderabad, and there was a whole 1 day round where first there was a jury of three senior product managers who were supposed to hire me in their respective teams, and they all three of them were directors of three different verticals. One was Microsoft Office Online, one was something else, and all the three were something different departments. And they interviewed me on the kind of random discussion that we were having. Something caught on, and then they started discussing that, and then eventually after that round, I did not go into further rounds. So this is the usual process that people follow. This is the Microsoft way. There are ways in which Google does its product manager interviews. There are ways in which companies in Paytm do their product management interviews. They all have different flows, but basic tenet is about understanding a product. Basic tenet is about knowing your way around the business of it, and the technology of it, and the design of it.
Right. So I think we have a few college students as well, like people in final year. So for them, let's say to eventually move into a product role, what can they spend their time doing now? Like what should they do now?
If you can build products and launch into the market. If you cannot build the products, there's simple products. Like I have seen people build basic chatbots. I've seen people build, cricket score applications where you can, just fetch live cricket scores anytime. I have seen people build applications which are very basic in nature. Like right now in times of Corona, a lot of people are building apps which are like Zoom. You get to do video chats, and you get to send messages. You get to play games.
Right.
Like we were talking about House Party.
Yeah.
So if you can't build products, then use those products. Analyze products which are very young, and then see how they grow, see how they mature. Keep using new products diligently, and keep understanding how their features are evolving. This will give you the best understanding about how the product managers are actually doing their jobs. I can always give you an example on this. Like, if I think everybody would have used Swiggy once in their life at least. The Swiggy product was, built around delivery of goods because they own the delivery part of it. So they have built their app around how the guy goes to the restaurant is making food, the delivery guy picks the order, then delivery guy comes and delivers the product to you. This whole this whole package had so many feature changes to it, and it got better and better and better, and suddenly chats got introduced, and suddenly you could call the delivery guy only after a particular point. So these are certain feature changes that you need to be aware of, and you need to keep understanding why they are doing it and how the business is getting impacted by it, what technology is behind that play.
Right. So obviously doing all this would improve your own skills and your own understanding of products, and like it will definitely make you better and closer to becoming a product manager. But how can you make this reflect, because job applications and getting into a company is a whole different thing, right? Because there are thousands of applications and things like that. So how can you make this reflect in your profile? Or I think in the interviews it will reflect themselves,
Yeah,
because
because the core is interviews basically.
right,
Let me stress this more than anything, that if you show that you have even analyzed products, and you have understood what is the basic core of product management all about, through your resume or through the basic talk that you have with whoever is hiring you, I think what matters the most is the basic fact about understanding product management, and that is paramount. No amount of resume making can change that fact.
right. You're saying if you do that, it will reflect in your resume and in the way you talk and in the conversation that you have.
Because everyone is looking for a good product manager. It doesn't matter whether you come from which background. Like, I've seen product managers who were doctors before. So
Right.
there's a company which is building an AI software for radiologists who are who keep looking at uh, CT scan images which are like 100 GBs of image of a single person, and they're building softwares which solve the needs of those doctors, and they themselves are doctors. And I've seen their startup get funding and evolve to a very larger podium, because they are good product managers. They understand that niche value of building features and what technology is needed and how do they build it. That is the basic tenet of product management.
Right.